My name is Lindsay. I'm 34 years old. 3 months ago I found my father. He wasn't dead. He wasn't lost. He was pumping gas 10 minutes from the house where I grew up, the same house where my mother cried herself to sleep for years. He looked right at me. He hesitated, then looked away like I was a stranger. I have a box under my bed. Missing persons reports. Unanswered phone records. Every lie I didn't know was a lie. And I have a voice recording he doesn't know exists. That recording changes everything. Before I tell you what actually happened, if you're new here, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Because this story doesn't end where you think it does. Let me take you back to March 14, 1999, the last day our family was whole. It was a Tuesday. My dad made eggs. He was humming something. I don't even remember what. I was 9 years old, sitting at the kitchen table with my backpack on, waiting for the school bus. He kissed my forehead, told me he'd pick me up after school. I didn't think anything of it. Why would I? He was a normal dad. Coached my soccer team the previous spring. Complained about the utility bills. Argued with my mom about small things. Nothing scary, nothing unusual. That morning felt like every other morning. But here's what I didn't know then. The night before, my parents had a conversation behind a closed door. I heard raised voices. I heard my mother say his name sharp like a warning. Then silence. I didn't ask questions. I was 9. He left for work at 7:42 a.m. I watched him back out of the driveway. He waved. I waved back. That was the last time I saw my father for 25 years. And nobody, not my mother, not the police, not a single person, could explain where he went. My school day ended at 3:15. I stood outside the main entrance for 40 minutes. Every car that turned into the parking lot. I thought it was him. It wasn't. My teacher walked me to the office. They called my mother. She arrived 20 minutes later, eyes already red. She didn't say much. Just buckled me in and drove home fast. He wasn't there. She called his office. They said he left at lunch and never came back. She called his cell phone. Straight to voicemail. She called his brother. His best friend. His coworker. Nobody had seen him. By 9 p.m. she was sitting at the kitchen table with the phone in her hand, completely still. I stood in the doorway watching her. She didn't know I was there. That image never left me. The next morning, she filed a missing persons report. The officer at the desk asked her, and I remember this clearly, "Has he ever done anything like this before?" She paused just a little too long before answering. I was 9, but I noticed. And that pause, that one small hesitation would mean everything to me 20 years later. The investigation lasted 11 days. 11 days for a missing husband and father, before they quietly moved on. The detective assigned to our case was a tired man with a cluttered desk. I only saw him once. He smelled like coffee and didn't make eye contact with my mother when he talked. He used words like voluntary disappearance and no evidence of foul play. Like that was supposed to comfort her. They checked his car. Found it parked 2 blocks from his office. Keys inside. No note. No signs of struggle. The detective said that was actually a good sign. My mother didn't agree. They pulled his bank records. 2 days before he vanished, he withdrew $1,400 in cash. The detective mentioned it once, then never brought it up again. I didn't know about that withdrawal until I was 27. Nobody told us anything. Weeks passed. Then months. The file didn't close, it just stopped moving. No updates. No calls. No answers. My mother called that detective 14 times over the next 2 years. He returned 3 of those calls. 3. And somewhere in that city, 10 minutes away, my father was already building a completely different life. While we waited. While we wondered. While I grew up without him. Nobody tells you how heavy an unanswered question gets over time. At 10 I told kids at school my dad was on a work trip. At 12 I stopped mentioning him entirely. At 14 a boy in my class asked why my dad never came to parent night. I told him he was dead. It was easier than the truth. My mother worked double shifts at a dental office to keep us in that house. She never remarried. Never even dated, not that I saw. She packed his things into boxes 2 years after he left. Stacked them in the garage. Never threw them away. I used to go in there alone. Open the boxes. Look at his things like they were evidence. Maybe they were. At 16 I found his old wallet in one of those boxes. License. 2 expired credit cards. A photo of me, maybe age 4, creased down the middle. He left that wallet behind deliberately. I didn't understand why then. By 18 I had developed a habit I couldn't explain. I studied the face of every middle-aged man I passed in public. Every gas station. Every parking lot. Every grocery store. I was looking for him. I just didn't admit it to myself yet. I turned 27 and something shifted. I stopped grieving. I started digging. I requested the original missing persons file. It took 6 weeks and 2 formal applications to get a partially redacted copy. I sat at my kitchen table and read every page 3 times. That's when I found the withdrawal. $1,400 cash. 2 days before he vanished. No explanation. No follow-up. Just a single line in a bank record that the detective apparently decided meant nothing. It meant everything. I started building a timeline. Printed documents. Bought a corkboard. My roommate thought I was losing it. Maybe I was. I called his former co-workers. Most didn't remember much. But one woman, a receptionist who had worked with him for 6 years, paused when I said my name. Long pause. Then she said, "Lindsay, I always wondered if you'd call." She wouldn't say anything else over the phone. We met for coffee the following Thursday. She brought an envelope. Inside was a printed email, dated 4 days before he disappeared. My father had written it. The recipient's name was someone I didn't recognize. The subject line was 3 words. I need out. Out of what? His job? His city? His marriage? Or out of something else entirely? That email changed everything. I stopped waiting for answers and started hunting for them. I hired a private investigator. His name was Ron. Retired cop, mid-50s, recommended by a friend of a friend. He charged $65 an hour and warned me up front, cases this cold usually go nowhere. I hired him anyway. Ron started with the basics. Social Security activity. Tax filings. Medical records requests. He told me most people who vanish voluntarily make a mistake within the first 5 years. A credit card. A speeding ticket. A hospital visit. Something always surfaces. My father made no mistakes. For 23 years, nothing. No financial footprint. No legal records. No digital trail. Nothing that connected a living man to that name. Ron called me after 3 weeks. Said it was like investigating a ghost. But then he said something that stopped me cold. "Lindsay, has anyone ever looked into whether he changed his name legally?" I hadn't. The original detective hadn't. My mother hadn't. Nobody had. Ron filed the request the next morning. I didn't sleep for 2 days waiting for that result. Because if my father was living under a different name in the same city, then everything I thought I understood about his disappearance was completely wrong. And I was only just getting started. The name change request came back clean. No legal name change on record. Ron was stumped. I wasn't ready to stop. I went back to that email. The recipient, the name I didn't recognize. I had avoided focusing on it because I wasn't sure I wanted to know. But now I typed it into every search engine I could find. Nothing immediate. Then I tried Facebook. There was one profile. Private. A middle-aged woman living 40 minutes outside the city. Mutual connection. A name I recognized immediately. My father's younger brother. My uncle Danny. My hands went cold. I called Danny that same night. He picked up on the second ring. I didn't ease into it. I just asked him directly. "Danny, do you know where my father is?" For seconds of silence. Then, "Lindsay, I think you should talk to your mother before you go any further with this." That sentence destroyed me. Because it wasn't a denial. It was a redirect. And redirects only happen when someone already knows the answer. I called my mother immediately. She didn't pick up. I drove to her house at 10 p.m. and knocked until she opened the door. She looked at my face. Then she stepped aside and let me in without a word. She already knew something. She had known for a while. My mother sat across from me at the same kitchen table where she'd waited for him 25 years ago. She wrapped both hands around her coffee mug. Didn't look at me straight away. Then she said it. "I saw him. 2 years ago. At a gas station on Mercer Road." Mercer Road. For miles from where we were sitting right now. She said she was pulling in to fill her tank. And there he was. Older. Heavier. Different hair. But unmistakably him. Working behind the counter. Wearing a name tag. She sat in her car for 20 minutes. Then she drove away. She never told me. Never called the police. Never told Danny. She just carried it. For 2 years. Alone. I couldn't speak for a full minute. "Why didn't you tell me?" She finally looked up. "Because I didn't know what telling you would do to you." I grabbed my keys. She reached across the table and grabbed my wrist. "Lindsay, don't go tonight. Please." I went anyway. I drove to Mercer Road at 11:30 p.m. The gas station was closed. Lights off. Parking lot empty. I sat outside in my car staring at the building where my father apparently spent his days. 10 minutes from my childhood bedroom, 25 years of wondering, and he never left. I went back the next morning. 8 a.m. I parked across the street and watched the entrance. My coffee went cold. I didn't notice. At 8:24 a.m. gray sedan pulled into the staff lot. A man got out. Older. Heavier. Moving slowly like someone who'd worked physical jobs for years. He unlocked the side door and went in without looking around. It was him. I sat in that car for 11 minutes. Hands on the steering wheel. Engine still running. Every single thing I had rehearsed saying, every question, every accusation, every carefully constructed sentence, disappeared completely. I walked in anyway. He was behind the counter restocking cigarettes. His back was to me. I stood at the entrance and just said his name. His first name. Quietly. He froze. Didn't turn around immediately. Just stopped moving. Like the word had physically hit him. Then he turned. We looked at each other across that counter for what felt like an entire lifetime. His face cycled through something I still can't fully describe. Shock. Recognition. Then something that looked almost like relief. He opened his mouth. I held up my hand and stopped him. I reached into my jacket pocket and placed my phone on the counter. Recorder already running. You don't get to speak first, I said. I do. I talked for 4 minutes straight. I told him about the 11 days of investigation, the 14 unanswered phone calls, the boxes in the garage, the wallet with my photo inside, the corkboard in my kitchen, Ron, the email, Mercer Road. He stood completely still the entire time. When I finished, he didn't make excuses, didn't cry, didn't reach for me. He just put both hands flat on the counter and looked down. Then he talked. He said 1999 wasn't just a bad year. He said he had borrowed money from people he shouldn't have. Significant money. The kind of debt that comes with threats. He said 2 men came to his office 3 days before he disappeared. He said they described our house. Described me. Described my mother's daily routine. He said he panicked. He withdrew the cash. He made a plan in 48 hours. He told nobody because telling someone meant that someone could be used against him. He said he stayed in the city because leaving felt like dying. So he just became someone else. Quietly. 10 minutes away. I let him finish. Then I asked him one question. Did you ever once drive past our house just to check if we were okay? He looked at me for a long time. Every week, he said. For 25 years. I drove home and sat in my driveway for 30 minutes before going inside. The recording was still on my phone. 56 minutes of conversation I haven't fully processed even now. I called my mother first. She picked up immediately. She'd been waiting. I told her what he said. The debt. The threats. The men who described our house. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, he could have told me. 3 words. No anger in her voice. Just exhaustion. The exhaustion of a woman who spent 25 years building a life around an absence that was never necessary. I called Danny next. He already knew about the debt. Had known for years. My father had contacted him once about 8 years after disappearing. Just to say he was alive. Danny kept that secret for 17 years without telling a single person. That hit differently than anything else. My younger brother Marcus didn't speak for 2 days after I told him. He was 4 when Dad left. He has no real memories of him. Just a vague shape where a father should have been. He called me on the 3rd day and asked one question. Is he worth meeting? I didn't know how to answer that. I still don't. Because forgiveness and understanding are 2 completely different things. And our family was only just beginning to figure out the distance between them. It's been 3 months since Mercer Road. My father and I have met 4 times. Always public places. Always my choice. He doesn't push for more than I offer. That's the only reason I keep showing up. My mother has not seen him. That's her decision and I protect it completely. Marcus met him once. Coffee. 40 minutes. He came home and told me it felt like meeting a stranger who had memorized facts about him. He hasn't gone back. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Danny apologized to me 3 times. I accepted it once. That was enough. Ron closed the case and refunded me 6 hours. Said he'd never had a case end quite like this one. I framed the refund check. Haven't cashed it. The box under my bed is still there. I haven't unpacked it. Haven't thrown it away. It just sits there 25 years of searching compressed into one cardboard container. Some nights I drive past Mercer Road without stopping. Just to remind myself it's real. That he's there. That this actually happened. He exists. He chose this city. He chose proximity over presence for 25 years. And I'm still deciding what that means for us. The recording is still on my phone. I haven't deleted it. I don't think I ever will.